Guess what? Boom. Now it's fixed. Now it's fixed. I've got it. I've got it. Right. And I can even explain what's gone wrong. This is a bit ironic. It is a bit ironic because today we are going to be talking about time travel. I promise we're going to talk about time travel. But it's kind of weird how all this has happened because today in the conversation, obviously as we progress, I've got another couple of topics to get into. And one of them involves a TV show that I've watched that involves quantum woo, okay? Quantum woo, AI, all that good stuff. So how does that tie in with our audio problem here today? Well, you can see the camera that I've got now. It's the same camera, but because of the NVIDIA graphics card that we've got, it's had a major new app come out, and you can do heaps of things to the webcam. It's amazing. It also comes with an audio device, and the audio device will take out background noise. It can remove air conditioning. To be quite honest with you, the AI in it is absolutely amazing. And it's a very narrow, specific AI, one for the audio and one for the video. But I didn't know that Streamlabs is so up to date that it actually recognizes, and Anne's laughing at me now, no shoe today, just laughter and ridicule. Yes. And I didn't realize that the two of them were talking to each other, and I was coming through from two different directions, and I've been pulling wires apart and ripping my hair out, and I don't have much hair left. All because the technology's advancing so fast. It truly, truly is. And that's a really good place for us to start today, right? I don't need to go and do the chat room again, do I? I'll give you all a big shout out as the show goes on. But remember, I did ask you if you think time travel's possible, if it's a 1 for a go, 2 for a no. There was a lot of 1s in there, and there were some 2s. I'm a 1. I do think it's a go, but maybe not the way we've always expected it, okay? We talk about time travel a lot here over the years on the show, on our streams. It's one of my favourite topics. Some of the TV shows I like the best are centred around that theme, time travel. Been watching a new show that I think Nano Girl put me onto, all around time as well. And we'll talk about that as time goes on today in the stream. But it's a story that I seen earlier on today that I wanted to start on, because this really was what inspired the topic for today. And anyone out there who's into science, you're into time travel, I don't think you would be able to see this headline and not dive in. Because anytime you talk about time travel, there's one thing that comes up in the conversation, rightly, that really seems to put a kibosh on all of that good woo. And it's something called the grandfather paradox, right? If you were to go back in time, hypothetically, and take out your grandfather, before your father's been born, your grandfather, wee boy, take him out, get rid of him, remove him from the timeline, then theoretically, your father's never born, and hence you're never born, right? Grandfather paradox. Definitely a major concern, and rightly so. That is until now. Because guess what? We're going back down under. Yes, it's Australia. And a scientist down there, he's changed the game. He's thought about it a different way. He's looked at all of the information that's always been there from a different perspective. And he's come up with a way around it. In fact, it might not even be a thing at all. And the math works. Check this out. A physicist has come up with math that makes paradox-free time travel plausible. Now, bear in mind, as of yet, I don't think we've got a machine. We may have, I don't know. But I don't think we've got a machine that you can jump in right now, right here today, and physically go back in time. Now, I'm open to new information coming along and changing my view on that. Just because we don't have the technology today doesn't necessarily mean that we can't do it today, if that makes sense, okay? If we can do it a time in the future, time travel's possible. It's always possible, or it's never possible, if that makes sense. Probably not, right? So just because I think we can do it, I don't think we can physically do it today with our technology the way it is. That makes more sense. So it says, no one has yet managed to travel through time, at least to our knowledge. But the question of whether or not such a feat would be theoretically possible continues to fascinate scientists. As movies such as The Terminator, Donnie Darko, Back to the Future, and many others show, moving around in time creates a lot of problems for the fundamental rules of the universe. If you go back in time and stop your parents from meeting, for instance, how could you possibly exist in order to go back in time in the first place? And that's a pretty relevant point, right? I mean, that makes sense. You go back to a time to just before your mum and dad meet, and you somehow put the kibosh on those two ever meeting. Why you would do that, I don't know. But you can see how that is a problem. Because then, you would never have came into existence to travel in the first place. Or would you? Or would you? Because it's a monumental head scratcher known as the grandfather paradox, but now physicist student Jermaine Tobar from the University of Queensland in Australia says he has worked out how to square the numbers. Not square the circle, don't freak out any of you Freemason lovers out there. To make time travel viable without any paradoxes. Quote, classical dynamics says, if you know the state of a system at a particular time, that this can tell us the entire history of that system. And I want you to really remember that there, okay? Remember this. Okay, it says, however, 2 seconds, folks. I need to go and do something. Hang on. Tell you, never a dull moment on this stream. I tell you, it's all going on here. So then, like I say, let's really keep that bit in mind there, all right? Classical dynamics says if you know the state of a system at a particular time, this can tell us the entire history of the system. So it goes on to say there, then that, however, Einstein's theory of general relativity predicts the existence of time loops or time travel, where an event can be both in the past and future of itself, theoretically turning the study of dynamics on its head. So it says here, however, Einstein's theory of general relativity predicts the existence of time loops. Okay, so we're going to be playing with some time loops today, or time travel, where an event can be both in the past and future of itself, theoretically turning the study of dynamics on its head. And what the calculations show is that time-space, or space-time, I got it wrong, can potentially adapt itself to avoid paradoxes. So what that really means is if you were to go back in time and say take out or somehow prevent your father being born, the weird thing that this is saying is that past, the time, it will find a way of correcting itself. Because if you were successful in going back in time and doing what you set out to do, you make your grandfather miss his meeting with your grandmother, and you think, yep, that's it, I've done it, I've cracked it. You would never have been around in the first place to come back and do that. So the universe, somehow, between that event you changing and where you traveled back from, you are going to come into existence. Just maybe not the story that you've had of your past. Your past will have changed. That's weird, right? That's weird. But it says it here. And we can take it further, and it gets really cool because it ties into the real world today and all of us. So to use a topical example, imagine a time traveler journeying into the past to stop a disease from spreading. If the mission was successful, the time traveler would have no disease to go back in time to defeat. That makes sense? So you've got a time traveler going back to the past to prevent some horrible, horrible event. If the mission is successful, then the time traveler would go back to a past where there was no event to prevent in the first place, because it would never have become an event. It's a head scratcher, and it's these time loops. Okay? So it says Tobar's work isn't easy for non-mathematicians to dig into. And that's why an idiot like me, I really don't understand it, but it's super cool. But it looks at the influence of deterministic processes without randomness on an arbitrary number of regions in the space-time continuum, and demonstrates how both closed time-like curves, as predicted by Einstein, can fit in with the rules of free will and classical physics. And it says the maths check out, and the results are the stuff of science fiction, says Fabio Costa at the University of Queensland. Now this here, that's a bit of a mouthful, bit of a headful, but we often talk about free will versus determinism. Is there anything random at all? Is there? Or is all of our lives pre-plotted beforehand? Is it already all laid out? And I know that free will is meant to be that thing that we all have, but do we really have it? Are we destined to be exactly in the place that we find ourselves today? Were we always going to be here? A decision made 3-4 years ago would not have resulted in you not being where you are right now, or it would have taken you to exactly where you need to be anyway. I know that it's probably more accepted or more believed that we have free will. I don't really know. I really don't know. I'm kind of open to it. When you get into the world of quantum and quantum mechanics and things like that, it starts to get even more confusing, but pretty cool because it all connects together as well. And we can do that with a TV show that I'm going to get to in a moment. But we often say and we often talk about the Akashic Records, the quantum field. Myself and Scott and many other people, we've often had that conversation. Not saying we get any closer to the truth, what's really going on, but we have a conversation, don't we, about whether we really invent things or people have ideas in their mind and they're actually bringing them down from the Akashic Record, the quantum field, the information. It's all around us in the universe. The other day we were talking about whether thoughts may even be fed into the electromagnetic field around the Earth because of our brain and the actual resonance in there, the frequencies, sometimes matching up with a human resonance. So does that contain all of the information that has been, is, and maybe ever will be? A lot of talk about us being in a simulation, right? A simulation that would be indistinguishable from reality. You look at what we're doing with computers and things like that nowadays, we ain't far away from that, right? And it's these simulations that I want us to talk about next. But we'll get there. We'll finish this little bit off. There's not much to go. And then we'll get into how this ties in with simulations and where we are today in the real world. With or without time travel. Real physical stuff, right? So it says new research smooths out the problem of another hypothesis, that time travel is possible, but that time travelers would be restricted in what they did to stop them creating a paradox. Now, in this model, time travelers have the freedom to do whatever they want, but paradoxes are not possible. While the numbers might work out, actually bending space and time to get into the past remains elusive. The time machines that scientists have derived so far are so high concept that they currently only exist as a calculation on a page. Now, we might get there one day. Stephen Hawking certainly thought it was possible. And if we do, then this new research suggests we would be free to do whatever we wanted to the world in the past, and it would just readjust itself accordingly. Now, try as you might to create a paradox, the events will always adjust themselves to avoid any inconsistency, says Costa. And the range of mathematical processes that we have discovered show that time travel with free will is logically possible in our universe without any paradox. So I'm going to take a little drink of coffee. I'm going to let you sit and I'll let you ponder that. Get your time traveling heads on. Get your Doctor Who TARDIS out, you know, and have a little think about what we're talking about here. Time travel. Is it doable? And how in heck's name does it tie in to the real world that we're all living in today and we're all operating in right now where we are online in cyberspace? Well, it does. It truly, truly does. And to find out more, you will just have to give me 1 minute to get a little drink, and then we will be back to it, folks. Don't go anywhere. Yep. Lewis, it was noted, Lewis. We've all been waiting for you. We've been here just over half an hour, and we've been waiting for you. You can't do that to us, Lewis. You need to be here. I'm only joking, brother. Only joking. Only joking. I'll be back in a moment. Trust me, if I could time travel, I would go back to 2020 on the 28th of September 2020, and I would click that microphone problem. I would know how to fix it right away, and we wouldn't have wasted 10 minutes of your valuable time. Thank you all for hanging with me for that. I'll be right back. Boom.
How dare you!
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
There we go. We're back. We are back. So I was talking about an important line that came up in that previous article, and I really wanted to kind of go back to that and look at it. I think this was it here, wasn't it? Or was it up here? No, there it is. There's our funky music. It's not a time for funky music. Maybe we'll go back to a time with funky music. So then, it says here, classical dynamics says if you know the state of a system at a particular time, this can tell us the entire history of the system. So I've been watching a TV show. Okay, 2 secs. Okay, it's one of these days. It is one of these days, and we'll get back to the main one there. There we are. Oh, dang, folks, it is one of these days. Let me tell you. Yes, indeed. So then, I've been watching a TV show called, I hope I get the right one here, Devs. There it is. Now, I don't know who told me about this TV show. I think it might have been Nano Girl. I thought it was my mum, but I asked her and it wasn't. Nano Girl, I think it might be. It might even have been Nancy. I'm not sure. Definitely somebody. I kind of talk about this kind of weird quantum woo simulation theories, what the universe is all about, where we came from, where we're going, the technology that's all around us right now, right? And this is awesome because it's about a technology company in Silicon Valley, based in San Francisco. And the main thing that's central to everything in devs is that there. Now, if you've been following around that kind of stuff that I do for a while, that's not going to be unfamiliar to you, is it? In fact, that may look very familiar because it's very much akin to what D-Wave and what Google and what a place called Rigetti I've got on the go, because what you're looking at there is the inside of a quantum computer. Yes, this is going very quantum, this show. And when you hear the name of it, devs, I mean, you think developer, you think development, developers. They're working on a top secret project. And I don't want to give too much of the show away because you really need to watch it because it depicts a lot of the stuff that we talk about. A lot of the stuff that we talk about. Simulations in particular. And back here, it said, classical dynamics says if you know the state of a system at a particular time, this can tell us the entire history of the system. So, if we come back to this show here, devs, and this quantum thing, in the show, what they're doing is that they're trying to create a predictive simulation of everything. As in everything. Past, present, future, right? And the way to do that is if you know the state of a system at any particular time, this can tell us the entire history of that system. So theoretically then, if you've got one of these bad boys here, and let's just use the D-Wave, we've often talked about it, and you use it to run a simulation of everything, call it the sentient world simulation. Now, you can obviously backfill it with all of the information that's out there online, but that's not everything, right? That isn't everything. But one way you could build a simulation and accurately make it go backwards in time so that everything that ever has been plays out exactly the way that it did do. The way that you would have to set about doing that would be to know the entirety of the universe right now in any given moment. And that might explain why right now we live in a world that is so driven by data. And literal nation states desperate to be the kings of the data, right? Because our good friend Kevin McCairn has been talking in recent times about maybe there's some emerging technology that we're not aware of yet, or something's come into being that we're not quite aware of. And I got a feeling something like that might be going on. Maybe something none of us can put our finger on. But it might just be that one of these actors out there, be it a tech company, be it a nation, be it whoever, but this goal to have the most precise data is really a race to have the world's most accurate predictive machine. And I'm talking about the real world, not talking about a TV show. I'm talking about where we are right now. All of our apps are with our permission, gobbling data 24/7. Cameras here, there, everywhere, gobbling data 24/7. Amazon have got a drone for the home now. Probably won't believe me. Amazon drone home. There is there. They've got a drone for in your home. Yep. Amazon's new Ring camera is actually a flying drone for inside your home. Ring announces a $250 always home cam indoor drone and plans for end-to-end encryption. Well, isn't that wonderful? But in the end of the day, it all boils down to data. More and more data. And I think somewhere out there, we've gone way beyond the sentient world simulation. We're playing about with something that looks a little bit like that. And I think when Klaus Schwab, our good friend, said, we have a very, very small window of opportunity to get a lot of big things done right now. I think we said at the time, how was it? How did he know he had a window of opportunity? How did he know that now might be the time to do whatever you want to do? I give you that there. Or something very, very like it. Very, very like it indeed. You know, I'll give you an example. Imagine having a machine and you've been filling it with all the data. It's taking in lifetime, everything. You're writing these algorithms, these mathematical equations to better scrutinize all of that data that you've got, to utilize it. And if you know enough information, if you know precisely all of the information in any system at any given time, and that's right down to the way that electrons spin, proteins are made up. Oh, proteins getting made up. What if I was to tell you that Facebook are working on modeling proteins? Hang on now. News. Yeah, a social media website that has an AI to model protein sequences. You see, this is the kind of like intensity, the granularity of the data. This is where they're going, folks. They're literally modeling everything right now because somewhere they've got something like that. And you need to be able to work out the spins of electrons, the mass of them, the energy in them, all the experiments that are being done at CERN to show them the various ways these particles act, the quantum particles that blink in and out of existence. That's the level of data that they are working on. And all of that, all the way out to what we're doing on social media and everything else, and everything in between, from banking to everything, all forced into that one system. And the closer you can precisely precisely give it the state of any given model at any given time, i.e., our model, the universe model, then that brings them all the closer to predicting the future. And the way that they test that they're getting good at it is they run it backwards in time. Because if you can say run it backwards, say 10 years from today, and it works its way back, and everything plays out exactly the same way that it did. Because remember, if you know the state of a system at any given time, you can know it past and present. You know it whenever. So you can theoretically wind it back, and that's what this does in the show. That's what this machine does in the TV show. And it's quite gobsmacking. Because you often, when you talk about time travel, where would you go? Many people say, well, I would go and see how they built the pyramids, and I'd definitely be up for a bit of that. You know I'd be there for that. You may have your own idea where you would go, but in the show, they take you back to the crucifixion. And at the time, the algorithms ain't quite working right. Not quite got it. Haven't quite cracked it. And it's like, remember the old TVs when you were trying to tune it in with like manually with an old analog kind of aerial, maybe a coat hanger or something like that, and you'd see the ghosting coming in, and it would be there, the picture's there, but it's not there. You're not quite on it. That's what it was like. That's what they were showing you in a TV show that is on the BBC and came from originally Hulu. Hiding things in plain sight. The physics is good. Theoretically, what they're talking about is everything that myself and Anthony Patch used to talk about with the sentient world simulation. Only it shows you a practical kind of way of how it plays out. What it looks like when they're doing all this. And to test that it's able to accurately predict the future, you run it backwards to something in the past. Can you view that? And this thing that they use, it's crazy. It's like, it's all crazy stuff. It's like the kind of things you see me doing with After Effects nowadays. In fact, kind of, if you imagine a screen like that, only all of those little particles filling up the screen and almost morphing, making shapes, showing you images. And there's sound as well. You can hear these old events, you know? And then eventually, they start to clear the signal up. Eventually, they get closer to viewing a past historical event. It's insane, right? It's insane. It's a really good TV show, and it makes you wonder if that's what they're doing today. Because in the end of the day, folks, you can talk about the data being used to surveil us and everything else. And yeah, that's absolutely one level of it. And with that comes great control. But imagine having a machine somewhere that will literally predict the future. Literally. I mean, what kind of advantage does that give you? On a geopolitical kind of scale, you know? It's not an arms race anymore. It's a data race. A data race to plug it into something like that so they can simulate everything. And then what happens when you can simulate all of that? I mean, I'm not talking physical time travel here, but it's time travel all the same, isn't it? You know, if you were taken into a room and shown something, you know, maybe back, I don't know, whatever the event is you want to go and see. I'd want to go maybe Culloden, go and see what happened there. The battle. You can see it, but you're not physically there. Is it time travel? In a way. Do I think we'll ever be able to physically time travel? Not too sure. Not sure on that one. I'd like to think so, because it's kind of cool idea, cool thought, right? But this TV show, devs, it got, well, 81% tomato meter, or tomato meter, depending where you are. Tomatoes over here. Tomatoes over in America. What are you in Canada? Are you tomatoes, eh? See how I done that? I got it. And if you're in Australia, I'm not even going to attempt it. But 76, 81, that's a pretty good score. A hauntingly beautiful meditation on humanity. Dev's slow unfurling may test some viewers' patience, but fans of Alex Garland's regular or singular talents will find much to chew on. Many people have seen that. Many have seen it. A digital crystal ball. Brilliant way of putting it, Polly. The entire universe. Yes, not just the visible, entire. Time travel movie with Denzel Washington. Algo, good to see you. Tom Toes. Yeah. But you've also got an A on the end of that, Nancy. I know you don't say that. Eh? Polly does. Eh? No, he doesn't. But I've heard him saying it to other Canadians and I've picked up on it. So I'm going to run with it. Posicino says the first time manipulation theory, CERN, micro black holes, quantum computer data, transmitter, Mandela effect. Why not? Why not, dude? Why not? All those different components are certainly out there. Can they be hooked in together to have the effects that result in what we see as some aspects of reality changing? It's the fact that it changes for some and not for others that really makes me lean towards something more being changed within us, inside us, be it in our minds, be it our memories, be it our perspective or perception being shifted from where it once was. And I only offer that because if you change the past, then I would expect everyone to have the same Mandela effects. We would all remember that one thing. Now you've got me into Mandela woo. This could go anywhere. I've got a show to do tonight, guys. I've even got more stuff for us to get to. But I am. Devs, check it out. And you know how I always say that they kind of hide things in TV shows, and it's only when you go looking for them you kind of have aha moments yourself, right? And I said to you, devs, what does it mean? Developers, development, something like that. Well, there's actually a devs acronym in science. It says, well, that's not it there. That's not it there. Oh, where have I put it? Hang on, I'll find it. There it is there. Devs is no, that's not it either. I'll find it now, folks. There it is. Devs abbreviating discrete event system specification. And it's a modular and hierarchical formalism for modeling and analyzing general systems that can be discrete event systems, which might be described by state transition tables and continuous state systems, which might be described by different equations. Now, at this point, I would love to tell you now, I'm going to explain to you what all of that means, but none of you would believe me. I wouldn't believe me. I have no idea what it means. But it sounds like it ties in with that whole, if you know the state of a system at any given time, then you basically can know it in its entirety. Right? And then we brought up another screen there. Deterministic system. This is where we get into free will, like we all like to believe we have. It's more comfortable to think that we're in control, right? I don't know, I mean, what would it do to the world if we were all told tomorrow that everything's already preordained? Everything's already mapped out and everything's going to happen just the way it was always going to happen. And it's happened in the way it's happened because it was always going to happen that way. And like we started off the show by saying, even if you were to go back in time and try and move around some of that furniture, change things so you could go, not deterministic, there's free will, it changes. You see, outcomes aren't determined. But now we're finding out that somehow that flow of time, the stream, the time stream, the timeline, it's got ways of self-correcting. Self-correcting? Now, I tell you what, self-correcting codes and all the rest of it, simulations, and Is it just me, or does it start to feel, and it could be confirmation bias, but does it not start to feel like we're getting ever closer to finding out that we are in one of these simulations? That it feels entirely like we're doing our own thing. And I've even said before on streams, you know, try and do something totally random. Nancy in the chat room, Comet Man. Comet Man's a big proponent of randonauting. Remember we talked about randonauting? Doing something totally somewhere you would never have gone without a random number generator. But what if that was even predetermined, right? You know, if you got a glimpse, say somebody a couple of years ago had shown you, like, into the future, and here you were playing this game that's allegedly random, but yet there you are. It's not random. It was always going to be. And even in the TV show, when this kind of thing comes up, you know, even when people know, when they've been shown that they're going to do something, it doesn't matter what happens. It ends up, no matter how determined they are not to do that, or not to be that person, or not do things, like this physicist is saying, stuff still happens. It's like that movie, innit? I think that's the best way to kind of describe it. It's like Final Destination, right? Look at that. There we are. There we go. See, you get a bit of a bigger Kev here, but it looks, see, gimpy when I pull that orange thing over. But Final Destination, right? We've all enjoyed those films back in the day. You know, you pulled out the way of a bus only for a car to come the other way and get you. You know, time's up, right? What's coming for you is going to get you, kind of thing. Is that where we are? Is that what this is all about? Is there no way that we can do something totally random? I don't know. I really don't know. But I'm going to head into the chat room in just a moment. I'm going to put on some tunes. We'll find some new tunes here. And we'll talk about this a little longer before I go and get Ben Emlyn-Jones. Great numbers today. Thank you so much for being here, folks. It truly, truly means the world. Remember, subscribe. Yeah, we've even got like fancy subscribe buttons and things that come up now. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel. And yeah, good fun. Love talking about time. And like I say, folks, I'm not telling you how it all works. Anyone that tells you that they know how time works, and then even more importantly, like getting into quantum stuff and telling you how that works, now these people are off their heads. I think the only understanding you can have of these subjects is that it's hard to understand anything at all. And that in itself is a little bit weird, right? A little bit woo, a little bit wonderful, a little bit KBS. Hang on now, find some music for us. Am I going to pick a good one? Am I? Come on, folks, do you think I can get us a good one? Here we go. Oh, dear lordy. Yay!
How dare you!
Oh, it's only a tune, Greta. Get over it.
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
Excuse me, Greta. Yeah, okay, she's all ma'am.
How dare you!
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
How dare you!
Okay. What are you people saying? Where are we? Algo says your graphic talents have come along quickly. It makes the stream extra good in the good way. Oh, thank you, Algo. Stavros seconds that. We've got Stavros saying, we see it's a natural that technology is, but reflecting and turning from physical to light. Every sun is a supermassive quantum bit beyond hectically, cosmically connected beyond a mini D-wave. Dang, dude. Dang. You people always melt my mind, and that's a good thing. You know, it's the level of thinking, especially about these kind of topics. I mean, that's pretty cool. Knowing cancels randomness, says DD74. But that's the question though. Is anything random? Is anything random? If you were to know, then, well, I don't know. It's weird. If people consider that they have higher selves and beyond that, how would determinism not be real? When higher selves are choosing to interact by incarnating and connecting between us is superluminal. Oh, Stavros. Wow. We likey that. That is, I'm scrolling up. Okay, let's see. ZX, I'll start from here. Basic says, I remember the Anthony Patch days, mind melting. I still watch Anthony sometimes, and he still melts my mind. He's got his own YouTube channel. Check him out. Polly with the digital crystal ball. ZX. They need to know. What's happened in there? That's right. Let's make that a bit bigger. There you go, folks. Bigger on there. Says here they need to know what everything in the universe is at any one point. Exactly, brother. Even right down to whatever dark energy or dark matter is. I think that's why they're maybe not rehashing it, but there's a lot more conversations taking place about that type of thing right now. Let's see. Basic Material says, well, God has already done it with the creation, so it is all the features built in. We're just learning the ropes. Can't argue with that. Stavros, Kev, they've taken quantum computers connected to mini nuclear reactors through time to, like them, live. Me suspects that it already does that. I'll go. Time travel movie with Denzel Washington. What was that movie? ZX says, I don't know what I did yesterday. Either did I. We had buzz about the CERN. King Sweet says, they built a time machine in a jumbo jet. If you go back 10,000 years at ground level, you may find yourself under a 1,000 foot of ocean or 1,000 foot above the ancient ground level. That's a cool thought, dude. Stavros Bacillus again. A camera is a micro black wormhole, same as the eyes. The only thing I would say to that is that wormholes have never, I mean, they're like hypothetical, right? We've never like made a wormhole, or have we? I don't know. We definitely maybe create many black holes. Imagine your eye's a black hole. That would mean everything would be contained in your eye. That'd be kind of crazy. Could you take somebody's eye and from the information contained in that eyeball, could you make them again? Of course you could. DNA's in it, I would imagine. So, hey, damn. You chat room, you definitely you've got a way of making the mind work, eh? Dang, dude. This is good. It was fun talking to you on Discord, Luna, says Lewis. We've got Donnie in there. Good to see you. Project Looking Glass. Some good woo in there, Algo. Oh, dearie me, that's good woo. Might even ask Ben about that tonight. Ben knows everything. Isn't this funky music good for the chat room? I think it is. It's staying anyway. Look, it's my stream and all of the funky music if I want to. Then we get this funky stuff. We're good. Devs, deep emotional virtue signaling. So a fair bit of that going around right now. That's for sure, Algo. So events are but deterministic and fixed into the future? That's the question. That's the question. Free will versus things that have already been predetermined. You know? Like, for example, me and Anne worked in the same place, and that's where we met. So, if, for example, one of us didn't get a job at that time, what this is saying, hypothetically, is that maybe one day, me coming out of work, or if Anne was there, her coming out of work, we would have somehow randomly bumped into each other. And we would have met each other another way, because Kevin was always going to be here. He was always determined to come along in the future, thanks to Kevin and Anne. That makes sense? That's a scary thought, Anne. That is a horrendously scary thought. She agrees with me. It's okay. No shoe incoming. You see how that worked there? I think that was a pretty good example for a raging idiot like me. So we've got Jordan Shapiro. Are you related to Ben? I'd have him on the show. Ben Shapiro. Interesting dude. Utopia show on Prime showed through the whole series. Showed everything happening with C-19. Interesting. I'll need to check that out. I know the show you're on about. It's one of the few I haven't watched. Says if people, I've had that one. That was Stavros. Algo said to Stavros, you made a brilliant point above. I wonder if they know what they really do believe. And that was the point about the higher self, stuff like that. What else have we got? Buzz, what if we write our own life path according to the lessons we need to learn and the amount of free will we have, we give ourselves? Nice. Nice, man. It would be more of a coincidence if there was no coincidences. Lessons for life, everyone. Check that out. Check his channel out. He was at the get together in London. Careful with my language, you know, things you can and can't say. I was watching your stream for a while, dude. Good stuff. We got ZX talking about portals in there. It's all just a game, says ZX. I love the thought that it might just all be a game. That keeps me going some days, trust me. It would explain a lot of stuff, right? Stavros, again, if the Earth tilted during the cataclysm that caused Atlantis to sink, did Atlantis exist when Earth wasn't tilted and therefore didn't have seasons as we do, meaning less physical change around? I have no idea. It's that's a lot of stuff crammed into one comment. How do you manage to cram so much into your comments, Stavros? It's amazing. They're quantum. I think you get about 200 characters in every one of yours. It sounds like some really well thought out question or thesis. I'm loving it. Algo says, for sure, the love energy is most likely the fuel for this simulation, I think. Yeah. It's almost like love is like a reward mechanism as well, right? Because to feel love, you feel warm inside, but you feel that when you're loved as well, right? Don't you? You feel good. You know you feel good when there's somebody there and you're with... You get me? Family, things like that. I get it. Not all families are loving, but you know what I'm saying? Stavros says, Kev, if my mobile phone not connected to anything, with a black camera and a crystal screen, using electricity and converted it to light, you are not #live. Therefore, our eyes connect from to us. To teach, and this is Stavros again, the tech, whilst it connects itself with us, I think, allows us to connect with us beyond it through our gateway to the soul, the eyes. So they say, that's what they say. Donnie, to me, reincarnation is a sort of time travel. If you could, yep. If you could, even better if you could unlock the ancestral memories that we probably have contained in us. If that's a thing. if ancestral memories even are a thing. They must be, right? That's how we're scared of fire and stuff like that. It's kept us alive for so many thousands of years. Let's see. Leslie says that was a brilliant explanation. It's a bloody frightening one. I mean, again, I'm not saying everything is predetermined, because I don't know. I can't know that. There's no way any of us can, like, concrete tell anyone that's how things are. I'd be struggling to... I mean, if some physicist with heaps of letters after his name told me he knows definitively that's how everything works, I still wouldn't. I think that'd be a bit of a bold claim to make. I think there's only whoever got this creation, this simulation, whatever you want to go, whatever way you want to explain it, whether it's simulation, creation, it's the same thing for me. It's exactly the same thing for me, because code, divine code, you see it everywhere. Fibonacci sequences, DNA, everything. Nature is full of divine code, right? Right? It's how the plants grow, it's how bones form, different sizes between your finger bones. I mean, all of that. Is that random? Because that seems pretty much coded, right? But hey, what would I know? What would I know? I'll tell you what I do know before we get out of here, though. I've got one story that really fits in with this, and we can have a laugh as well. Yes, we can have a laugh. How can we have a laugh? Well, before we have a laugh, let me stick on the time travel then, right? Because in Devs, that program we were talking about, this one here, that one there, that Devs program, and I'll make myself a little bit smaller. A little bitty smaller. There we go. Kev shrinks away. Pull that up here. There we go. Your chat's still okay. You like my little text up in the corner there? How it slowly changes from the Kev Baker show to I provide, you decide. I thought that was a nice touch. I thought that was pretty cool. Even if I say so myself. Yep. Yep. So, in this show, I was telling you how, in fact, if we look at images, I just need one image. That's all I need is one. One image. Will it give me one? Okay, hang on. I just need one image I'm looking for, and it'll kind of lead us into the nice bit that I've got really quickly. There we go. So I was telling you about how potentially you could look back and it was like all little particles, like I think I showed you this here, didn't I? So it's like little particles that's in a big cube, all right? Well, the kind of thing that it comes back and shows you is this here. So it projects back, and it's like watching it on a screen, right? It's a big box. It's like a 3D thing where all these quantum particle-y type things are, and you start to see the image here of a cross, right? Because it's the example that they use. Not very good, right? Pretty grainy, pretty crappy. But you know the first thing I thought of when I was watching Devs? The first thing I thought of, and it's hard to get away from it. It's hard to get away from it. But anytime you talk about time travel in modern times, there's John Teeter. There's also people like Andrew Bashago, and I've had Andrew Bashago on the show. And he talks about his time in the time travel, but maybe more importantly is another piece of information that he kindly shared with all of us. And that information was about something called, I love it. It was called the chronovisor. Yeah. We all remember the chronovisor, right? Right? Well, the chronovisor, hypothetically, theoretically, allegedly, is exactly what they've built at Devs. You can wind back and look at any future event. You can go forward, look at any future event. You can't physically go into it. You can watch it. You can look at it playing out. You can hear it. So the chronovisor, good woo. Good woo. And I've got a good, this is real out there, uber woo. Take it or leave it. I don't know if the chronovisor is real. I don't see why not. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. We've got the chronovisor was allegedly the functional time viewer described by Father Francis Brune in his 2002 book Le Nouveau Mystère du Vatican, the Vatican's New Mystery. Brune, or Brune, is the author of several books of the paranormal and religion. Now, in the book, Brune relates that the chronovisor was built by Pellegrino Ernetti, and he lived from 1925 to 1994. He's an Italian priest and scientist. Now, although Ernetti was a real person, the existence or functionality of the chronovisor has never been confirmed. Its alleged capabilities are strongly reminiscent of a fictional time viewer which features in T.L. Sherard's 1947 science fiction novella E for Effort. The background: in the early 1960s, Ernetti began to study the writings of Francois Brune, himself a Roman Catholic priest and author, and Ernetti allegedly ended up helping Brune construct the machine as members of a team which included 12 world-famous scientists. He identified two of them as Enrico Fermi and Werner von Braun. The chronovisor was described as a large cabinet with a cathode ray tube for viewing the received events, and a series of buttons, levers, and other controls for selecting the time and the location to be viewed. It could also locate and track specific individuals, and according to its inventor, it worked by receiving, decoding, and reproducing the electromagnetic radiation left behind from past events. It could also pick up the audio component of sound waves emitted by these same events. And Ernetti lacked hard evidence for these claims. He said that he had observed, among other historical events, Christ's crucifixion, and photographed it as well. Now, a potential copy of the image appeared in 1972 in May in an issue of La Domenica del Corriere, a weekly Italian news magazine, and a near-identical mirror image photograph, however, of a wood carving by the sculptor Lorenzo Collat Valera turned up and succeeded in casting doubt on Ernetti's statement. Now, using the chronovisor, Ernetti said that he had witnessed, among other scenes, a performance in Rome in 169 BC of the lost tragedy Thyestes by the father of Latin poetry, Quintus Ennius. Dr. Catherine Eldred of Princeton University is the author of an English rendition of the text, which is included as an appendix to the US printing of Peter Crassa's book on the chronovisor. Now, Eldred believes that Ernetti actually wrote the supposed ancient play himself, and as provided by an anonymous relative of Father Ernetti, there was a deathbed confession included in the US edition of the play that Ernetti had written the text of the play himself, and that the photo of Christ indeed was a lie. And according to the same source, however, Ernetti also affirmed that the machine was genuinely functional. So whether the actual chronovisor existed or not. I think it's well worth watching the TV show Debs, because I think they've really borrowed and leaned quite heavily on the lore, the story around the chronovisor. And in the real world that we do live in today, folks, I mean, we are on the cusp of having simulations that are able to predict the future. Maybe not in the type of precise granularity that we're talking about here, but we're getting there, rapidly getting there. And with more and more algorithms coming along and quantum computers getting more powerful and powerful, number of qubits doubling every 12 months or so, who knows? Who knows where we end up? Maybe we ourselves will end up creating a simulation that for those in it might be indistinguishable from reality. And then that has to leave you with the question, if we've made a simulation like that, then what on earth's name rules out the fact that we ourselves are not in a simulation like that somebody else created? So I'm going to get ready now to head on over, get Ben Emlyn-Jones. If you've liked today's stream, thank you very much. Remember to leave a like, leave a comment, share it out, let people see it. I'm going to trim off the bit at the start so nobody will ever know that we had all those technical issues. Let me just find that on here so I can unlist it right away. There we go. That's fine. And like I said, I've got Ben Emlyn-Jones on today over on tfrlive.com. We're going to be talking about Area 51. And somebody has found something really, really interesting at Area 51 that we need to talk about. Ben's also going to be talking about Richard Dolan. And is disclosure done? Is it ever going to happen? Or is it just a figment of our imagination? So we'll be discussing that and a whole lot more, because Ben's been out protesting. He's been doing a whole host of things since we spoke to him last month. Then tomorrow I've got Nano Girl on the show. And then on Wednesday we have got Ken Ami, the new guest, is going to be coming on the show to talk about this kind of thing. Technology, transhumanism, Hollywood, all the good stuff, all the good woo. So just leaves me one last thing to do, and that's to thank all of you for being here today. Join me 15 minutes from now over on tfrlive.com. I'll also be over in Discord, but if you want to head to the chat room at tfrlive.com/chat, I will see you all there. And if you can't make it, remember to check out the archive, and I will be back tomorrow with another pre-show stream. We'll have something fun, something woo, and something weird before I leave you today, because I forgot to show you this. Yes, time travel. What if I was to tell you, one of them's already been arrested. Yep. Brian Johnson of Casper, arrested for pub intoxication. And when he got arrested, he claimed to be a time traveler. Yes, he did. So, just quickly, a Casper man claiming to be from the future has been arrested for having too much to drink in the present. You see, if he was any kind of real bona fide kind of time traveler, would he not have known that he would have got arrested in his past and not had a drink that day? I call shenanigans on this time traveler. Might not have rolled with the police. If he'd gone to Apex TV down in Australia, they deal with time travelers. If you're into really questionable, phony, hokey, fakey time travelers, Apex TV's the place to go. But what you see here is what you get. I don't have all the answers for all of the questions. In fact, all I leave you with is more to think about, and all of you scratching your head thinking, what just happened there? Maybe nothing happened. Maybe it's just a time loop. Maybe it was just a figment of your imagination. Until next time, folks, I am out of here. Keep your mind open. Keep looking for the woo, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo.